everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. I have another in-person guest, second in-person guest besides Charlie and Tylee, Haley Chicoine. Haley's here, and we're going to talk about how she moved her business. We're going to talk a little bit about work-life balance. So, Haley, say hi to everyone. Give everyone a little intro. Tell everyone who you are.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
Sitting on your comfy couch.
I know.
I'm Haley Chicoine. I have been a full-time wedding photographer for almost 8 years, which feels crazy. I know. I feel like I'm
I am
so old. But I absolutely love what I do. It's such a fun job for so many reasons. But yeah, I have my husband, who I've been married to for 7 years, and a daughter, Carter, who's 3, and then another baby on the way. So work-life balance, it'll be fun when we get to that.
Yeah.
LOL.
LOL. Yes. So kind of walk me through how you got started in photography. So that started after you were married.
Yeah. So the same year that we got married was essentially the year that I started shooting full-time. So it was like in that same season. But as far as like my official start, I really honestly loved art and photography and pictures and had my little Canon power shot growing up and stuff. But when I was a senior in high school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something with writing at some capacity. So I originally planned to study journalism and broadcasting. Oh. So my mom will be so proud that I'm on a podcast.
Wow.
My dad always says I have a face for the radio, so that's perfect.
Journalism at its finest.
LOL. Yes. But it was the summer before my freshman year of college that I actually went to like a random photography workshop for somebody in town. And after that point, it had never crossed my mind that anybody could make money taking photos. Never even was a thought in my brain that could be a career. And so when I started to take on sessions, like basically my senior year of high school, and then once I had the capacity to take it full time, it was around my junior year of college.
Of high school.
Backtracking. But yeah, my junior year of college that I was like, you know what, journalism is not for me.
Yeah.
The lifestyle is not for me. And I just loved shooting weddings.
Okay.
And so I ended up pursuing that full time and dropping out of school.
Okay, you dropped out of school.
For sure.
How was that?
Good, not great. I mean, I feel like I was so close, like I was heading into my senior year, but at the same time, there were so many other factors that went into it as well. Mm-hmm. And I truly wouldn't change that trajectory at all.
Okay.
I think it took a lot of boldness and confidence to drop out. Mm-hmm. And it's not for everybody. That's not everybody's path. But for me, it worked really well and gave me the space to focus on the things that I loved. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So then how did you book your first wedding? How did that start? Because, I mean, you don't just start photography and jump right into weddings, you know?
Or do you?
Wait, did you? Oh.
The first wedding I ever shot was for a friend of mine whose photographer canceled very last minute. Oh and so it was like such a long day. I think I got paid like $300, and it was like, honestly, it was such a like rough experience. I had like probably one of my first anxiety attacks on that wedding day. And on that day, right before the ceremony started, I was like overcome.
Oh my gosh.
Just so much pressure, didn't know what I was doing, was borrowing a friend's camera, like was not cut out for that. And, I told Leighton, my husband, I was like, never let me do that again. Like that was the worst decision.
50 weddings later.
Yeah, literally. I was like, we need a blood oath that I will never do that because it was so bad. And a couple weeks later, a friend of mine, who was also getting into weddings, was like, hey, I have this like brunch wedding, great couple, so chill. Do you want a second shoot for me? And I was like, yes, I love shooting weddings. I would love to do that.
Just lied to her face.
Yeah, no. But it opened my eyes to a totally different type of client that was way more down to earth, focused on the important things. And it was such a relaxed day. Mm. It made me think, if I can find more people like this, I want to do that forever.
Right.
So that was a really easy on-ramp after that point.
Okay. And I know that's going to be good to hear for a lot of people listening, because a lot of people will write in and say like, I just am not booking my ideal clients. Like this sucks. Like, I don't know if I can keep going, but it's like, it does get better, like as you start to get the right clients for you.
Right. And I think it takes a lot of like humility too, to say, for me, when I started booking my first season, I was not booking my ideal client for sure. Like my price points were lower. I was just getting my foot in the door. I remember so many of my first client meetings, I was telling them the truth. I was saying, hey, I have never shot a wedding before. Like I've shot one, but I promise to work really hard and give you great photos. And nobody should have trusted me, but they did anyway. And, you know, slowly and over the course of the next year and a half, I was able to get to clients that were more my ideal. And so it does take time. So be patient and don't be afraid to take on things that don't always feel exactly right, because it will lead you and help you to understand what you really love. And
I would say unless there's like really obvious red flags, like they're not making payments or something,
Totally.
or, you know, or something like that, like you do kind of have to
be picky.
Yeah. Like you have to be picky, and then sometimes it's like you do have to take just whatever comes your way as well. Like there's like a balance in the beginning. There's a balance,
because it's a like no matter if they're getting married at the perfect venue or not, like this couple is trusting you to take their wedding photos, and it's a really big deal. And so for me, it was like, what a privilege. Like even if it's not the money I want to make or the venue I feel like I want to shoot at, like I am growing and I'm a literal 1-year-old photographer. So there's a lot of grace to say I can learn, and they're allowing me the space to do that, which is so amazing.
Yeah, that's a good mindset to have, to view it as a privilege. Because if you don't view it as a privilege, that's where we start to have some attitude issues and, you know, things start to go downhill really quick.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was a big wake up call, especially with my move. Like, so I had been shooting weddings full time for about 5 years, and then we moved from Nebraska to Michigan. And so having my whole network, like born and raised in Nebraska, you know, I built my business there, was shooting with my ideal clients, like best, you know, years ever. The last 3 years there were awesome. And moving to Michigan, where we had no contacts, no network, I had no client base. It was a huge wake up call for my attitude. Like I might have a portfolio, but I don't have a network. And so the privilege of being picky and getting to take on, you know, only a certain amount or only certain types of budgets or something was like out the door. I had to really be like humbled to go almost back to what felt like the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That actually segues us nicely into the move, which is what I wanted to talk about with you, because we both moved. I mean, mine was not that recent, but like I moved right before you moved back here. I don't think you realized that when you reached out to me initially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had just been back for like, I was still living in like my 6-month rental, which was what we did right when we moved back in my uncle's house. So I had just moved back from New York, which I lived there for like 5 years. And then I moved back to Michigan, which I'm from. But you moved from Nebraska to Michigan, but you didn't have any ties in Michigan.
No. So I have like an aunt and uncle here, like down like southern Michigan, and then like Leighton's brother lives in southwest or southeast Michigan, but otherwise no.
So kind of just walk me through the move, what that was like, kind of like what impacted your move. Just kind of walk me through all the juicy details.
So I think, I mean, Leighton and I had for a long time wanted to move, but it just never panned out. So we thought, why not, you know, the year of 2020 when we have a 4-month-old and we headed to winter in the north.
Pandemic. It all makes sense.
It was perfect timing. It was actually insane timing, but it worked out super, super well, to be honest. But anyway, we essentially in the beginning of 2020, we decided we were going to move. We just didn't know where. And so it was just a matter of like discerning where that move would take us. And we essentially landed on Grand Rapids for no reason. Like there was really no reason to move here outside of it just felt really comfortable and like we could envision our lives here. And so we visited in August of 2020, and then we moved in October, at the very end of October in 2020. So because we didn't really know like where we were going to go business-wise, it was really like stress-inducing for me because January time is usually when I'd get most of my bookings for like the upcoming year, or like around the holiday season for the upcoming year. And so it was really hard to be getting all of these ideal inquiries for Nebraska weddings and just feeling in my gut, I need to say no. And at that point, we didn't even know if we were going to move. It just felt like I was saying no to a year's salary. It was crazy. But we felt so confident that we were supposed to move to Michigan. And so I started saying no to all these weddings, and every time it was so hard. But eventually we landed on Grand Rapids, and that once we landed, it was like I could do pedal to the metal and start working to build up a business, even when I'm not in that location yet, to see if it'll work.
Okay.
And so I think for me, mindset wise, just a very open grip on just being okay to fail. Like I was really prepared. If this takes years, it could take years to rebuild. It took years to build in Nebraska. Like it's probably going to take even longer to do it where I don't know anyone. And so I started just to do what I could, which was like, you know, geotagging like Grand Rapids, even though I'm clearly taking photos in like a field in Nebraska, I'm like tagging Michigan. I started reaching out to Michigan-based photographers, just trying to make connections. More than anything, it was because I knew I would need friends, and what better way to have friends that could potentially feel like coworkers too. And so started reaching out to people, and then when we visited, we visited in August, and I planned and kind of designed like 2 styled shoots just to try to get some like Grand Rapids looking things so people didn't think I was like a fraud. But yeah, did that even answer your question? I started rambling.
I asked you to tell the story, so there was no question. It just was open-ended.
True.
So I think what you said about, so like one of my questions is like, how did you prep your business for the move? So I want to talk like pre-move. So one of the things I also did was visited Grand Rapids while I was living in New York still. I knew at that point that I was going to move though. And when I would come to visit, I would do shoots.
Smart.
Because I didn't have couples in my portfolio. I definitely didn't have weddings. So I just needed like a little bit of experience. I did have like 1 or 2 weddings. So one thing I did do was I like booked things while I was visiting home, even though I still lived in New York. So I booked weddings like over Christmas break.
Yeah.
I don't know how the heck I did that.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But, just like building your portfolio in that way before you even move so that once you get there, you have at least like one venue you can tag or like one couple that you've connected with, you know?
Yeah, that's such a smart way of doing things too. Like, especially if you know where you're going to go and have the opportunity to visit beforehand. At least for us, we had only been to Grand Rapids that one time in August. So it was like, I had one shot, to like even see what the landscape was like. And I think probably the biggest prep work was more mental and emotional prep to say, if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to plan a plan B. Like, I'm not going to get a part-time job. I'm going to do my absolute best and work the hardest I can work to make this work. So I'll know all my best effort was there. And if it fails, it wasn't for lack of trying. But over that, it was like, I'm not going to have a plan B. I'm going to try really hard. And also, if I fail, it's okay. Like, there's a season for everything. And so I think having that loose grip, I was actually more free to like really work. So as far as before moving, we visited the one time. I started hashtagging locations. Because I had an ideal client in mind, and I know that's kind of a hard term. Like, my ideal client isn't necessarily a budget or a venue. It's a type of person. And I will shoot weddings. I've shot weddings for free in the past, like when I was first starting out, because they were the type of people I just loved being around. I wouldn't always recommend that, obviously, but as you're starting out, you have the discernment and the ability to do that as a business owner. And so I kind of knew the type of person I wanted to work with, and I started to like follow accounts or like restaurants or like locations like that I thought my ideal client would be hanging out at. And so I creepily just started following people.
I did that too. I like would go and find like girls that like followed certain accounts that I could tell were like in relationships but not married.
Yeah.
And
How
I would
creepy.
follow them. But and like still to this day, I find myself being like, why am I following this person? I don't know this person.
I know.
And it's from that season where I
Yes.
was following people just left and right.
I know.
Did it actually end up getting you bookings?
Yes.
It did.
My first ever paid booking was because of me being creepy on Instagram.
Shut up. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was cool and it felt authentic because it was the type of person I would want to hang out with anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't feel like a stretch or like I was like fishing for something. It was like, if I never shoot with this person, I would want to be her friend.
Right.
So
yeah,
I'm going to follow her and like start interacting. And they ended up getting engaged. And then I shot their engagement photos and then their wedding.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah, it worked.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you do any like SEO prep or anything like on your website before you moved?
Yeah, so I'm really bad at that kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
So probably one of the other back end things in prep was it literally was $3 a day. And I started a Google ad for West Michigan wedding photographers. And I was like, I'm buying a coffee. I'm just going to, swap my coffee money out for this Google ad. And I'm not a marketer, but through that Google ad, I think most of my bookings came from that.
That's amazing.
And just people, because I had a portfolio of couples and weddings, which is what I wanted to shoot in Michigan, I just needed to get in front of people. Like I just needed them to see that I existed and that I was a person living in Michigan now. And
the bar is so low.
So I'm like, just know I'm a person.
In Michigan.
So the biggest tip is set your bar and your standards incredibly low.
On the floor, yes.
But it actually it worked really well because even when I started doing random shoots when I moved, I have a whole story about all the random things I would take photos of. But either way, it was but once people see my page, they see I'm a wedding photographer. So I will work with an artist in town or a guy that makes pies and I'll take photos. This happened for real. I would love to get in front of people's faces because once they see, I want them to see that I shoot weddings. So
yeah, no, that's really good. So let's talk about what you did once you moved here. So that was prep, something else I did for SEO. I went and did all of my, what are they called? The titles of the alt text.
Yeah. I did do that too. I lied.
Yeah. Of all the photos on my website, I went and changed them all to Grand Rapids wedding photographer. Yeah. Don't know if that helped, but whatever.
It feels good to know that you're trying though.
It's true. It spent me, I took 20 minutes to do it. It feels good. So let's talk about what you did once you moved here. Just kind of walk me through some of your strategies, maybe some things that did and didn't work once you were here.
Yeah. I think that was the mental prep of knowing I could fail was, reaching out to people, shortly after we moved, we're just like-minded photographers. I would get ghosted and I'm a sensitive person. So that at first was it's hard when you're you need help or you need friends. And so being comfortable to just put yourself out there, it was not easy at the beginning. It took a lot of effort mentally and emotionally for me to put myself out there. And I feel it's a muscle group now that I've worked out a lot because I had no other option. And so once we moved, I just basically just started meeting with people and trying to make friends. My first year here, so in 2021, my first full photography season, I second shot probably half of my weddings I second shot, and then half of them I was shooting on my own, which even that, I was really happy to have my own clients too. But also to just make connections through second shooting was so awesome. Yes. Just to meet people and get a feel for things. And so once I would meet up with a photographer, I would just say I have a pretty wide open calendar. If you need a second photographer, I have way too much time on my hands.
Yeah.
And so I would do little meetups with people, and the photography group, that random group of people is so fun and so needed for me just as somebody who is new to the area, especially post pandemic. That was so essential to have community too. But I think mindset wise as well, just having the perspective of like being okay to ask for help. Like I could not build a business if people didn't refer me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, second shoot a wedding if people didn't trust me. So I needed people and I couldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay. So something that you mentioned that I want to give more context to, basically how I met Haley. She reached out to me on Instagram and you were like, hey, like I love to like meet up for coffee or something like that. And you didn't know I had just moved back. So I was like, I also want to meet up for coffee because I also don't really have friends. So we met up, and then Haley like kind of created like this group of like other photographers that she had met up with. And we did like this big like charcuterie night. But like Haley was the main reason we were all there because we all had met her. Now that I think about it, it could have been an awesome like MLM like marketing scheme too.
Totally could have done that.
Yeah, you totally could have been like, want to buy my protein powder?
I actually sell essential oils.
Yeah, so we all met up, and then I actually met like some of my really good friends from just doing that little group. So you really like put together this little community that I honestly it was lacking. Like I didn't really have any photography friends. I had like 2. So like just from you going outside of your comfort zone doing that, like because I mean it was a good business move for you, it benefited everyone.
That's
and
good
like
to hear.
it was I'm really grateful you did that because it kind of like showed me that I need to be a little bit more intentional with like actually getting to know other photographers and not just like living in my little bubble.
It's so easy to do that though. Like as an entrepreneur, especially when at times it can feel competitive too, where you're like, we're all trying to shoot with the same types of people. Like, what do we do with that? But I think at the same level, because you have such a similar mindset, there's already such a good foundation for connection. Similar age groups, lifestyles, interests, passions. Like it was like, I want to be friends with people that understand the things that I love and am passionate about, or like the struggles I have too. Like immediately, any of those girls would understand what it feels like to get ghosted by a client or to have a bad experience or to struggle with bookings. And so it just felt like a really safe place too.
Yeah, no, it's a really good thing to do. And overall, like I feel like it helped. I do feel like it helped you a ton, like get bookings and just like create some of your like BFFs too.
Totally. Yeah, it was so awesome. And I'm still like, I love being in touch with those people as well. But yeah, it was like connection points there. And then my dad gave me really good advice before we moved. He just said, be a regular wherever you go. So just keep showing up at the same places, not in like a creep. I sound like such a creep. Oh my God.
You do. We're like going to investigate you after this.
Please do get my background check done. But just to like be intentional with the people that I'm running into a lot. So I think more than anything, it was like, I don't want to come into a relationship with an agenda. I want people to know that like I need people, I need friends, I need community, and more that mindset than I need something from you, if that makes sense.
Yes. No, you don't want to be snaky about it. Like that's not equitable. So with your clients then, like your first year being back compared to like, I guess not being back, but your first year moving here and then like your next year, how does it look different, like getting new clients? Like how did you get those first clients? And then how is it different now? Like are your lead sources different? Is it kind of the same?
You know what's crazy? I was shocked, even at the time when I found this out, that my lead source in Nebraska was referral based. So it was people hearing about me and telling their friends. And I knew for sure like that would not be the case in Michigan, but it was.
Really?
It was referrals still. Like it was Google before we moved and maybe for 6 months after that. And then it was all referral based, which is shocking because I was getting referrals from people that never had met me in Michigan, but had followed me.
Okay.
And so people that I didn't know were referring me, or like these photographer girlfriends were referring me. That was like the life source as well, was that group and other girls like that, or business owners like that. And then, I never really struggled with having like an issue booking. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I expected a lot of hardship, but it was like, awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they think about moving their business, they're just afraid of like, oh, what if I never get clients? Like, and that could happen, but also like, it also could not happen. Like, you just don't know. And I think like, I I always like everyone has this place in their head that they want to move to, right? Like everyone has like this place that they want to move to. Like for some people it's, I don't know, Italy. For some people it's literally Florida.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think this is kind of like if anyone needs a little bit of a nudge to try something new and maybe move somewhere and not be afraid that their business might fail. Like I think it's okay.
I think it's okay. And it will open your eyes to different points of connection. Like I think because of, you know, when I first moved, it was like, I'm willing to take on any type of shoot. And it opened my eyes to like, I don't just love weddings. I love people and I love taking photos. And I don't care if it's photos of a newborn session or pastries or a restaurant or a wedding client. Like it was like, I just love connecting with people. And it opened the doors to so many different types of opportunities. And it actually helped the commercial side of my business like really expand.
That's cool.
Which I did not expect or plan on. But
yeah.
I think especially as somebody that has that entrepreneurial mindset, when you don't have any quit in you and you're willing to take on anything, you know, eventually that led me back to where my heart is, which is wedding clients. But there was kind of a windy road to get there, and it was so worth it because I found a lot of other passions and great connections.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned commercial work. I actually saw one of your photos on the Experience GR Instagram page.
Yes.
So talk to me about how you got connected with like these businesses. You're taking photos of like pasta night and like all these random things and like a cool rooftop bar. Like, how did that happen? Like,
I mean, I don't honestly even know. Like these people will just find me through Instagram or like Google searches and things like that. But like, I think what people need to realize when you're struggling in a new area and you're trying to book clients, you know, don't write off what feels like the little shoot, because I did little tiny shoots that felt like they were meaningless, but brought me 2 or 3 wedding clients the next year because they saw me as a wedding photographer, even though I was taking family photos, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And every opportunity you have a client and you're taking photos as a photographer is your chance to not impress, but like show off what it would look like to work with you. So if you have, you know, an approachable personality or like a really, really creative mind, or you know your gear super well, like lean into whatever is your skill set and don't care about what you're shooting as much as you are giving the client an experience that they will talk about, good or bad.
Yeah.
And if they talk about it in a really great light, and then somebody else finds your page and sees that you shoot weddings, like it just opens the door for that. That probably didn't answer your question.
No, it did. No, that's really cool. Like, don't like forget about the little shoots.
Yeah.
I've booked a lot from little shoots too. Like, you'd be so surprised.
I think it's because it's another opportunity to super like really take care of a client and do your best.
True.
And show people like, if I can do that for a 30-minute mini session that you randomly booked me because you happened to find my page, I promise I can do that for a wedding.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you moved here, how did you manage your old bookings in Nebraska?
Yeah.
This is something I always think about.
It was hard. Honestly, it was really hard to tell people I was moving.
Okay.
So I obviously still honored all the contracts that I had in place. We moved at the end of October in 2020, but we knew that we were moving. So I did book significantly less in preparation for the move, but I did still have clients that next year in 2021. So I went back to Nebraska. I think I might have had like 7 or 8 Nebraska weddings that I traveled back for.
Yeah.
And with a family and like having a daughter, like it was hard to leave, but it was also par for the course. Like we decided to move, and part of that was, you know, tying up the loose ends business wise in Nebraska. And there's a temptation, you know, when things were, you know, feeling daunting in Michigan to just quick book a Nebraska wedding. Yeah. And I did that twice and I regretted it. Not regretted it. They were awesome. But it was like, I just need to be where I am and like trust that things will come and I will be okay. And so will my family. But it was really hard not to be like, oh, but I could just go back once and it'd be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had to really just start telling people like, I'm no longer booking Nebraska weddings. I'm only shooting here in Michigan and closing that chapter kind of in a cleaner cut way.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to hear that you still went back and shot those weddings, because I do
Mm-hmm.
think it's like part of like having a good reputation is like
Yeah.
actually following through with like if someone books with you, like you don't leave them high and dry and be like, oh,
No.
sorry, like I'm moving.
Right.
Like you follow through with your contracts. I mean, I had to go back to New York multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I like kept getting like these this was so annoying. Once I moved, then I started getting these high-end
I know.
weddings there that were like budgets were
Oh,
amazing, like
so
amazing
hard.
clients from like New York City. And I was like, I like genuinely had to be like, Cassidy,
I know.
I need to stop flying out here. Like
I
these are
know.
amazing clients, but you're just building and feeding into this client base out
Totally.
there that I don't want to keep having.
It's so, that's the temptation though, is you're
Yeah.
like, but I could just as easily
Yeah.
work one wedding this weekend
Right.
and then be in Michigan the rest of it. It's like, no, you need to focus your time and energy on the long-term game, which is where
Yes.
you're trying to build roots. And I get it though. It's so hard.
Right. Unless you're trying to like become like destination.
Right.
Then like, yeah.
Share it all.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that did answer my question. I was wondering like
good.
if you had like bookings in Nebraska still.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely still had to tie up those loose ends and then really try to focus on a client base that I was hoping to grow here. And I don't know, it's just really cool to look back, even in preparation for this, just like all the different things that I did, even looking back at my old calendars from like 2020 and 2021. And what's crazy, and this is not like that, you can cut this out if it sounds weird.
Okay,
So please
okay.
feel free to do that. But out of all the years in Nebraska that I shot, my first full season here in Michigan, which would have been, I think, 2022, or wait, maybe 2021. Nobody fact check me. Was like my best financial like year I had
Yeah.
ever had in my business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because I had stopped pigeonholing myself. I had opened up opportunities and sought them out in a really authentic way
Yeah.
and worked super hard. Like
yeah.
really tried not to get discouraged when things weren't going my way, because there were times that I would get ghosted or like a photographer wouldn't reach back out or yet again, there's an email to a venue that I never get a response from as I'm trying to make connections, but continuing to push forward. It was like such a encouragement at the end of the year to say all that effort, because of like essentially the support of my husband too, like that worked. And it was such a great feeling.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's weird at all. I think that's like a really cool and almost like it almost solidifies like, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this here. Because you said when you moved here, like you wanted to put in as much energy and effort as you can, but like if it doesn't work out, then it's just not what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. But it just solidifies like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And like you said, in Nebraska, you might have been like, I don't know, just not challenging yourself as much.
Yeah.
Because when you come here, it's like, oh, I have to start connecting with people. I have to start putting in effort to get these bookings. And I think it does kind of relight like, a little bit of passion in you almost.
I think it's so easy to just rely on your network if you've been at a place for a long time and to almost get lazy with how you handle relationships, whether it's vendors or clients or friends in the industry. It's like, how much do you really value your network and your circle? Because once you start to get feeling like an island, like you can do it on your own, you just really miss out on beautiful opportunities to connect and challenge yourself and branch out. And so, it was a huge challenge to move, but it was so fruitful, so worth it.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you to kind of like wrap up this segment about you moving. What are some tips you would have for someone that is moving and like wants to have a successful move? Like what are just some tips you would give that person?
Yeah. I think my biggest tips would be start reaching out to people and making genuine connections with as many industry involved people as you can, whether that's vendors or other photographers, videographers. Just start making your way into what can sometimes feel like a really tight-knit community. Another thing I did was I joined like Facebook referral groups, and I couldn't join some of them until I actually had like a Michigan location or address. So once you're in your new location, try to get involved with some referral groups, making some connections, start posting as consistently as you can, and tagging or hashtagging like relevant places. And then, you know, honestly, more than anything, be yourself. Like when you meet somebody,
Yeah.
part of my, not my entire identity, but I am a wedding photographer. And so when people meet me, it's okay to talk about your job and not feel weird about that. Or like you're fishing or like needing something, but, reaching out to people, making genuine connections, and then, not being afraid to step a couple steps back, especially if you're a well-established photographer. It can feel like you have to check your pride a little bit and say, actually, you know, with my wedding photography story, I did not second shoot one. Like I second shot one wedding before I started taking on my own. And so having to it felt like I was backsliding to second shoot, but it was so, so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know everything, and I always can learn from somebody else. And so second shooting for people is really important. I don't know. I feel like creating groups if you can, and creating the community that you want to have takes a lot of effort, and sometimes it feels outside of our personalities to do that, but it's worth it.
Yeah. No, those are amazing tips. Second shooting is pretty humbling, but I think it's good. It honestly just makes you a better wedding photographer because you just understand like it kind of takes you out of that bubble of like the main character almost and puts you on the sidelines and helps you understand like, oh, like maybe the bride doesn't feel great when I, you know, do this during posing or, you know, something like that. It just kind of opens your eyes a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so like eye-opening too to see just how differently other people do things.
Yeah.
Like, and having to really check myself. Like I don't have the perfect system.
Yeah.
I don't have the perfect shooting style. I will never be the perfect photographer. And that's like so freeing to say I can learn from somebody, even if I wouldn't do things the same way. I still have something to learn, even if it's what I need to do different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's a good approach, truly. So let's talk about work-life balance. We said LOL at the beginning because I asked Haley if she wanted to talk about it, and she was because I was like, "You're so good at it," and she was like, "Okay, like I don't think I am," but just talk to us a little bit about how you have set up work-life balance and how you're trying to make it work because you have a daughter and like your husband works, you work, so just kind of like walk us through the journey.
Yeah. I feel like so much of my advice this whole time has been more like mindset than like obviously there are a lot of action steps, but I think first mindset wise within work, and being a full-time wedding photographer, having a husband that works full-time, and then we have a family too. So our daughter is 3, and probably the best advice I can give is to be where you are. So I have to wear a lot of different hats in my life, and I can only wear one at a time. And that's okay to be all wedding photographer Haley one day, as long as when I come back home, I'm like really present. And that's hard to do when you're running a business that's entirely on your shoulders. It's really hard to make time and protect and keep sacred the family time, but also do a really good job running a business. It can feel like a lot of pressure. And so I think a lot of people say this, but like the first thing you have to do when you think about work-life balance is remind yourself it's literally a myth. You cannot achieve perfect balance.
Yeah.
It's impossible. We can aim for it and try for it, but when you set an impossible standard, it'll leave you feeling discouraged and overwhelmed. So I think setting the bar as low as you can and saying, you know, as much as I'm able, I am going to be the best business owner I can. I had a super sweet friend when I was struggling with like just my inability to balance work and being a mom. I had a friend, it was so sweet. She was like, it's so awesome. She said it so casually. She's like, it's so awesome you get to show Carter what it looks like to run a business. And I was like pretty blown away by the idea of like, she is watching me run a business, and it's a joy to get to show her that you can work really, really hard at something. You can take failure. You can mess up, you can make mistakes or have regrets in your business, but you can also succeed and try really hard and, work with incredible people and take cool photos. And when my identity isn't in how successful my business is, I get to show Carter, no matter if you fail or win at whatever you try in life, your worth or value is not directly tied to what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
Just who you are is enough. Another way that I think practically I try to achieve like work-life balance is really trying to invite Carter in to understanding what my business is and what I do. I love that Carter can answer, to a stranger or a friend what Leighton and I do for work. Because it's not a secret. We work jobs, we have to work, and I want her to understand, there are times, that I do have to go shoot a wedding and it's sad and I don't want to leave her, but she also is so obsessed now with taking photos and all things wedding. She loves all of it. She's also like the most ultimate girl for a 3-year-old. And it's really fun to like even take her on like shoots. I'll take her to photo shoots with friends, and she has her little $15 camera that she brings along. And
not her like getting better shots than you. Like
literally,
I feel like if I had a kid and they did that, they'd literally get better shots than me. I'd be like,
totally.
You're gone.
And it's like a cute little retro like vintagey camera. I'm like, this is so like cool. It's like film.
That's cute. And honestly, it's probably so fun to share what you're passionate about with your child, and then your child also becoming passionate about it. Like, that's cool. Like, why would you not want to do that?
I know. We were actually at a family shoot last night just for friends of ours. And, I tell her, like, you're my second photographer. You stay here and we do all these things together. And it's open and fluid. She's 3.
That's so cute.
But by the end, I was like, okay, Carter, it's your turn to be the lead. And you get to. I have videos of her posing them.
No way.
Like, she was saying, look, hug each other and walk towards me. Now walk backwards. Like she was watching what I was doing and was repeating it. It was so sweet.
Wait, I could cry.
I know.
That is so cute.
It was really cute. But yeah, it's like, it's so fun to invite her in and let her see what that looks like. And it requires a lot of sacrifice on behalf of the parent. Like I've had late nights and early mornings, and I have to, give up certain things like a certain wedding client or a weekend with family because I have, the privilege of helping provide for my family. And I also have this insane calling of being a mom and raising up a daughter and now a son. And it's just, it feels really burdensome sometimes, but overall, I think having a very loose grip on my business can show Carter and eventually like this baby too, like you are not what you do. And once that gets too wrapped up, it gets really sticky. Yeah. Because now if I'm not doing well at photography, I'm suddenly a bad person or mom or business owner or whatever. But if you can separate those things out and say, I'm not only what I do, but that is a part of who I am too. I don't know.
No, that's good. And you and Leighton do like mornings and evenings, right?
Yeah.
Or like something like that where you like split your time.
Yeah.
Like one of you is with Carter and then one of you works and then you flip.
Yeah.
How has that been? Is that like recommended, not recommended?
Yeah. I feel like each family finds a different rhythm. And Leighton's job, so at the time when we were doing that system, he was part-time. Now he's full-time.
Oh, no.
And so
not anymore.
So not anymore as much, but even still, like, we both carry, the weight of our household too. So, like, we understand there's a flexing that needs to happen. Like, he'll put Carter down for a nap or, I take the morning shift and he goes to all of his meetings or whatever. Each day is a little bit different. He works from home, so we have a lot of flexibility with that, which is awesome. But his job is a lot more routine than mine. So I do feel like I have a more flexible schedule and end up taking on more of like the mothering parenting role on the day-to-day. But he's so involved. And I would say it's pretty evenly split. And it's not always. Each season's different. Yeah. When we moved to Michigan, it was pretty much 90-10. Like he was all in with Carter and I was working really hard. And so each season is different, and being okay to have conversations with whoever is in your support system to say things are changing and I need to reevaluate how my daily rhythm is flowing, and being okay with kind of struggling through finding a new system.
Yeah. I really like what you said, like, at the very beginning about how, like, the idea of work-life balance is literally fake.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like the theme of this episode is set the bar on the floor. Like, the bar is so
Bury
low.
it.
Yes, we don't have a standard.
Yeah.
And, like, that actually kind of hits home because it's like, I feel like with work-life balance, something is always sacrifice.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole idea with work-life balance is you don't sacrifice anything. It's like perfect balance between work and life. There's never any crossover. But I just feel like naturally there is crossover. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I couldn't run my business well if I didn't have some part of my personal life integrated into my business. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's healthy to have crossover. Like, why would I want to keep my husband or my daughter from understanding what I do on a weekend?
Yeah.
Or why, I have these sweet clients that are sending baby gifts because they, it's like there's a beautiful thing in letting things intermingle. But I think that overall mindset of saying, today you might wear multiple hats in a day, but I can't be a mom and be on my phone Instagramming and posting reels. Like, be where you are for whatever that little moment is and be like all in on it, Yeah. That's convicting to even say. It's hard to even say because I'm not perfect at that. Like, I still am on my phone when my daughter's around and I don't want to be, but to really try to remind myself, be gracious with myself and say, as much as I can, one hat at a time, and do it with everything you have. And it won't leave anything up for like critique later on, like regret about, was I involved enough? Was I present enough? If you can really work when you work and mom when you mom and allow that bleed over to happen in a way that, encourages your kids or, lets your clients into your life. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, I almost feel like when you wear multiple hats, but you only wear one hat throughout the day, like in a moment, you're only wearing one hat. I feel like that is almost more encouraging for me to be like, I'm going to work super hard while I have the time to work on my marketing or whatever.
Totally.
So I'm going to like really bust out all the reels that I need to and all my TikToks. So then I can, after 5 p.m., then I can, wear the wife hat or whatever, or the sister hat. Like, I feel like it's almost like, yes, there's going to be bleed over, but when you are wearing one hat, just really make sure you're using your time wisely.
Totally.
I feel like it's almost more like a push, like it just kind of a nice little push in the butt, you just need a little motivation sometimes.
Yeah, like when Carter has, she's at preschool 3 mornings a week, so I have 3 hours, like, and I get so much done in 3 hours because when she's home, I don't want to have half my brain thinking about some ridiculous to-do list item that for sure can wait. I have such a quick, turnaround time with things that I'm like, I have to do it right now. And you don't. You can take a breath, take a day. And say, I feel like it's so easy to just try to do everything all at once. And it just makes you feel like you're failing at every area. Yeah. Which I felt like that. And so if you just do what you can in that one moment as well as you can, I don't know, the weekends I have a wedding, for example, Carter and I have like a mommy Carter date in the morning, and it's really sweet time because I'm intentional to say, like, this is my time with you. I do have to work, but I'm still wanting to be present and
just show her that she's like a priority.
Yeah, totally.
And that would work with like if you have a significant other or I don't know, like a sister or whoever you want to spend time with. Like, it's important. Yeah. So to end the episode. Yes. Because yes, we're ready. We're sweating.
This whole time.
I feel like with a lot of my guests, I try to get like crazy stories out of them because I just think it's so entertaining. So tell me, do you have like something crazy that's happened at like a wedding or a shoot that you did that you would like to share with us?
Ooh. I feel like my whole first year was like so up and down shooting weddings. There were a lot of stories there. Yes. That we will leave there.
Leave them there. Yeah. We don't need to reopen the wounds, honestly.
No, it's too much. There was one time though that I was, I'm a big fake it till you make it girl,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately.
Same, honestly. I am too. I'm faking it all the time.
Truly, I thought that was like the key to life was like, oh, you just pretend the whole time.
Oh my gosh. No, absolutely not.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm a big fake it till you make it girl, and I'm taking these super fun engagement photos. Everything is going great, except for the fact that my camera battery dies, and I'm freaking out. Like, I still have like, for sure, significant, like at least 10 or 15 minutes left of this like little 1 hour shoot. Like, that's a big chunk of time for 1 hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm like sweating thinking about it. But anyway, so I continue to fake shoot. My camera is fully dead.
Right.
No shutter is going off. Nothing is happening.
Not a thought behind those eyes. Nothing.
I was basically blacking out, and I'm still like posing them, like actively, like, you guys look so cute. Perfect. This is amazing. And the bride goes, oh my gosh, I never realized like how quiet your camera was. I was like, yeah, it's like new features. I'm like puking. I'm like, yeah, it's like super quiet. It's awesome. It's actually turned off right now. I never told them.
Oh my gosh.
So I just fake shot for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then was like, so I love them. They're turning out great.
Turned out great. And
Packed my bag and left.
They never noticed either.
They never knew.
That's amazing.
But I was sweating like beads of sweat.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. Like, I don't know if I'm a good enough actress to genuinely hide my panic.
I was I probably peed myself.
Yeah. Like on the way home.
Most likely.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It was really embarrassing.
Yeah. And honestly, the fact that you kept shooting.
I could not. I have no quit in me.
I think I would literally have to be honest and be like, I'm so sorry. Like, my battery died. I'm a horrible person.
I mean, true. And I feel like from that point on, though, you have to have something like that to tell yourself, pack 14 batteries.
That's
like,
true. It's the
charge your batteries.
Yeah. You didn't have any more, like that was
None.
it. You brought one battery with you.
I didn't even bring my camera bag with me.
Sometimes I do that. I bring
so bad.
Literally like my like backpack that like just a little backpack. Like
the
literally
bare
like,
minimum.
Yeah, like a little tiny backpack. I'll pack one extra lens, one battery, and like one extra SD card. Rogue SD card.
Rogue, yeah.
It's like
loose.
floating around. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'll be fine.
No,
I'm
you're
just
never
waiting
fine.
for the day where it's like, oh, I actually need my backup camera.
I'm so scared for that moment.
Knowing me and my luck, it'll happen at my next shoot. So
yeah, you can always call me.
That's true. That's true. Well, I usually shoot really close to my house, so I feel like it would never be that big of an issue.
But imagine the like embarrassment.
I know, it's true.
Yeah,
and
it'd be horrible.
It just feels unprofessional too.
What's sad is that's not the only time my camera's died and I've continued to fake shoot.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Or like if if we have 3 minutes left of a session and we're like essentially done and my SD card's full, I'll take a couple fake shots and not change it out.
Have you heard of people who like...
Is that wrong?
Yes.
No one respond to that.
Have you heard of the people who like at a wedding reception when they have enough dancing photos?
I do that.
Do the test shot?
Yes.
You do. I did it
so
at
bad.
one wedding because I was there for 3 hours.
It's a lot of pictures of the same people dancing.
I was like, I don't need this. So I actually was just hitting my little flash.
100%.
So funny.
They think I'm like so pumped about these
For
photos.
real.
I'm just kidding.
I know. And they're like, oh, I never saw him in the final gallery.
I know. You're
So
like, remember when
funny.
we did the like
the
the
cake,
limbo?
The cake
Like,
cutting?
what?
Like,
oh, not good.
yeah. So Haley, tell everyone where they can find and follow you on social. Since you're just the social queen, since everyone finds you from Instagram and
we'll cut that out.
What?
What I just said. That was a weird sound.
Oh, I'm leaving it in 100%.
Yeah, Instagram is just my first and last name. So it's HALEY letter C CHICOINE.
Yeah. Her last name's
Copy paste
hard to say, so I'm gonna put it in the show notes so everyone can just like go and click on it. Super easy.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah. Instagram, not cool enough for TikTok. That's fine.
That's fine.
But yeah, I have obviously like my website too. But yeah, Instagram and my website are good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this podcast is so good to.
You're the best. I look up
You're
to
the
you a
best.
lot for a lot of different reasons.
Oh,
and
stop.
it's such a like it's been so fun to like even just to see you
Thanks,
like in the
girl.
last couple of years.
Yeah.
You're incredible.
Just to
You're
see
doing
you
great
in
stuff.
person.
Just I love seeing you.
First time we've
love
seen
your
each
face.
other. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. Everyone listening, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.